Alright, welcome back. So in this video, we are going to see the next two things of the CRUD functionality that I mentioned in the last video, right? Which is the create, read, update, and delete. So the create and read we had seen in the last video how we can do, and update and the delete using the Mongo shell, of course, we are going to see in this video, right? And from the next video, we'll start actually like implementing that through our code, right? So that we can make some practical applications, because Mongo shell is mostly used for just debugging and like testing and all. Great. So I'll go here. I've currently not set up anything here, right? I've not run the Mongo daemon. I've not run Mongo yet, right? So what I'll do is I'll click on new terminal window, and this time I'm going to run Mongo daemon down here, right? So we can see it starts. Great. Now the next what we can do is we can run Mongo here. So first of all, I'll do show DBs, right? Then we'll go inside test. Then I'll do another show collections. And then we have inventory, right? And if you remember, I can do db.inventory.find. And this will give us all the objects inside of this inventory collection, right? So these were the two things, basically what we learned. And one was insert one. And basically, one thing that I forgot to mention was that you can have this and you give your object in here, right, whatever you want to make, to insert one thing. But let's say you have an array. Of course, you will have data inside these curly brackets too. I'm not just giving them right now. And you want to insert multiple things. So then you would not use insert one for obvious reasons. You would use insert many, right? And this will be the case in all of them now. Find can also be used like find one, which is what we'll do later on. But insert one is for one element and insert many is for many elements, right? So this was the thing that I forgot to mention, right? So now let's get into update and delete, right? So first of all, let me discuss what this ID is. I said I'll mention this in the next video, so this is the next video. So this ID is basically what ID would generally stand for. Like this will always be underscore ID. And if you remember, item, quantity, tags, and size we had given, right? But this ID we had not given while making our data, So what basically happens is Mongo assigns this ID by itself, right? And it looks something like this. It will always be something like this. The number of characters in here is the same, and it is always like in an object ID function, right? So this is assigned by Mongo by default to every entry that we put in a collection, right? And everything inside a collection will have a different ID for sure. There's no chance that those two things can have the same ID. So an ID is basically unique identifier for something in our collection. And if we want to refer to things, we will use the ID most of the times. And you don't worry, you won't have to actually type the ID ever, right? You won't have to type the ID in for an object ever. Most of the times you will be receiving an ID through, let's say, a form, and you'll get how we can actually use IDs without writing this whole thing out, because we'll be receiving it as a variable from somewhere and then we'll be using it as a variable. So we won't be concerned with its value, right? So anyway, this ID for now is just a unique identifier that you can remember, right? Okay. So now let's get into the update and delete thing. Great. So basically update and delete are really similar to insert, right? What you need to do is that if you are doing db.inventory.update1, then you are just basically updating the one thing that you want, right? And update will now take two things. First, it will take an object which will be specifying what exactly are we going to update. Like the entry that we are going to update will be decided by this, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to select the item with canvas, the data entry with item is equal to canvas. So we have selected this. and we want to change this to item, let's say sheet. And that throws an error, right? So why is that? And that is because we would want it to look this simple, but it actually does not look this simple, right? So what we actually need to do is inside this we'll also make another object, and right, and then we'll do right. So this kind of output means that it has been done. So what did I do here? What I basically did was that if I do db dot now I see my item has been changed to sheet and everything else remained the same, right? So this is what I was doing when I wrote this, right? So you basically have to write this $set before this, meaning that we are like changing this item to sheet now, meaning set item to sheet. And if you like you're wanting to change multiple things, then this object could contain all those multiple things that you want to change. You could also add a new item from here, right? So this is basically the update syntax, right? Great. And this is probably the most complex syntax out of all of them, because remove is really simple too, right? So update is this, and you could like also do update many if you have many things to update at the same time, and that would work. Great. So now the last thing that's left is db dot inventory dot, the thing is, let's say we want to remove the data entry with item paint, right? So what you can simply do is you can write delete 1, and in here you give the name of you give like the thing that you want to identify in your data entries, right? So I'll do db.inventory.delete1 item paint. And now if I do db.inventory.find, I see I only have one item left because this was removed, right? So by doing this, I've basically deleted the one item, which was this, and hence this has been like really easy. You just give the identifier for the data entry in here, and you can do delete 1, or you could also do delete many, right? And if you like leave this blank, then it will delete everything, right? And if you change this to many, then this will delete all the entries in the collection. I can do that. And then if I do db.inventory.find, I have nothing, right? So the collection still exists because the data has been deleted, but the collection still exists, right? So yeah, so this was basically all about the CRUD procedures, and honestly, this is something that you'll only use for your debugging, like all the time. But you will not use this for the majority of your code, right? You will not use this for building your website. So that is actually done through Mongoose, which is a Mongo package, which we install through npm, and we'll see the exact functioning of that in the next video, right? And let me tell you, it is a little different from this, and I personally find that better and simpler according to me, because the syntaxes are a little better, right? So yeah, so anyway, we'll get to that in the next video. That's it for now. I'll see you then. Bye.